before we get started, guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. I upload all my coaching sessions there. Thanks again. Hey, what's up, guys? I thought I'd make a video today on one of the more common mistakes that I see, especially in coaching, when I watch low-elo players and they lane against Gangplank, because for some reason people just hate playing against the champion. I really enjoy it. I think the champion's really hard to play, and usually people suck at him. So usually the topics come from just general early laning phase. They think the poke is too much. Playing against the barrels is really hard. Of course, there's mid-game later on when Gangplank's scaled, and it's really hard to deal with then. But early game especially, that's where I see the most issues. People really suck at barrel contests. I'm also going to show you some tip later about how you can trade if you have a dash. So what I'm going to start with doing here is showing you a clip of me versus Shemek. Okay, Shemek is an LFL top laner. He's won LFL twice. That's the French league. It's really big. He's also 1k plus LP challenger. So I actually managed to get a good VOD of solo queue to highlight this, which is what I've been waiting for a while because no one plays Gangplank. So before we start, the most important thing you need to know, early game, you want to be tethering outside of the range of Q. That's obvious, right? That's the obvious one. You want to mitigate as many Qs as possible, but that's not the main thing you want to worry about. The majority of the damage that you want to avoid are actually from his passive, the Flame Sword, right? So you need to know where that comes from. I recommend just going to the wiki and reading, as well as the barrels. You mitigate the barrels and the Flame Sword. So what you have to do is maintain a distance so that you cannot get altered by the GP, right? So that you cannot get Flame Sworded, as well as barrel contesting. And now let's go over barrel contesting, okay? What you want to do for the early barrels, what Gangplanks wants to do, is if I play it real quick, Gangplanks want to sit on a barrel level 1. That's what all the Gangplanks do these days, right? They start barrel, and they just sit on it, okay? And that's how they get prio, okay? Because you, in theory, cannot walk up without him hitting the barrel, and then he will also hit the minion wave, and then you'll also be flame sorted. So how do we circumvent this? How do we beat this? Well, what you do is you walk up, pretend to walk into the circle, and then walk in and out of it really quickly. Okay, and the majority of the time you want to be out of it. So that way he feels compelled to hit the barrel just in case he hits you, or just in case you actually go to last hit it, right? So I'll show you what I mean here. Right, like that. And then I space afterwards with just a Q so that he can't hit me with a flame sword, right? I got the barrel and I didn't get hit by flame sword. That's a really big level 1 win. Now, the important thing to know is that each barrel charge has an 18-second cooldown of recharge. Okay, you have to have an internal timer of how many barrels he has at all times. He has 3 barrels early game, right? And if he has 1 barrel, it's so much easier to play against than a Gangplank with 2, because you know how he can essentially guarantee a barrel when you last hit with 2 barrels. So now, what's Gangplank's counterplay to this? Is if this is such a good strategy against him? Well, the counterplay for Gangplank is to actually, when you walk up to contest, right, is he places a second barrel. That guarantees it. But what's the downside to this? Well, the downside to that is he uses 2 barrels, right? And I already said he only has 3, right? That's 36 seconds worth of cooldown, okay? So if you just take a second barrel, that's also fine, right? You take a bit of poke. Yes, it sucks a little, right? But he's used 36 seconds worth of cooldown that you can punish now, right? And how do we punish that? Well, I'll show you as well. But the whole idea is that you exhaust his barrel. What I see normally is people will just play terrified of the barrel. But they'll absolutely play terrified of the barrel. This is especially good if you have a champion with Zor sustain, right? But people will play terrified of the barrel, they'll never contest, and never do this mini game of weaving in and out. And I'll do this multiple times, so that now let's just carry on watching, right? Space the Q, knock off the first strike, and then do the exact same thing again, right? And something else I'm also doing here is I'm approaching the barrel from a different angle than my minion wave. Because if I'm over here, he just barrels here, and not only does that poke me, but also pushes, right? So if he double barrels me here, he doesn't get push, right? He only hits me, so there's less value, right? That's why I'm coming at a different angle as well. So I'm going to weave in and out, you see? In and out of the barrel, in the barrel, and the Gangplank. This becomes a very difficult mind game where the Gangplank will start getting better and better at this, and you'll start S-keying to make sure that you're actually in it. Right, I tried to space the passive also. In theory, I should just go for a Q, I guess, but it's alright to take 1. You can see how much damage the passive also does. That's why you have to space it and make sure you don't get hit by it. Now, here's where I mess up, right? I finally mess up the barrel timing, right? And this is bad, right? Of course, this is really, really bad, and I should be punished here. Maybe even die. But the point wasn't to show this, obviously. It was to show you how to contest his barrels early and the minigame of ducking in and out of the barrel to get him to pop it underneath him. Now let's just watch a funny outplay. right? He has Ignite. The reason why I'm more confident here is because I forgot he had Ignite, right? I don't see Gangplanks run Ignite. I don't see Gangplanks very often at all. Flashes Flame Sword auto. And you'd think I'm kind of screwed here, right? You'd think I have to walk all the way around here, but I don't. Very funny. So this just highlights now the importance of spacing the Flame Sword, okay? Because if I get hit by Flame Sword, the fight's done, right? So I'm going to just keep walking in the same direction. Never going to hit by Flame Sword, right? Always space the Flame Sword. It reactivates when he hits a barrel, right? Flame Sword, Flame Sword, Flame Sword. And now I actually feel comfortable going in because my Q's off cooldown again. I know I win now because I've Ignite advantage. He has no flash. And now I could play the little mini game of make him force the barrel. You see how it all kind of comes together, right? I skipped a bit too far back, but this is where I go in again. And you tether the barrel, right? And he feels compelled to hit it because you're tethering the line. And then he's stuck. And then you actually win. So I screwed up. But brought it back a bit nicely. I just wanted to show, highlight the importance of spacing the Flame Sword, how you can actually win if you do that, as well as relating to spacing the barrels. So now if I skip through, I just want to show you a little bit of a nice cheeky thing that you can do if your champion has a dash. Okay, I believe it's here. Okay, so what you could do is if he has a barrel down, right, and he places a second barrel here, you can dash forward and dash into this zone as this barrel explodes and this one's still going, and that way you can avoid getting hit. Like that, right? See, I didn't get hit by a barrel. You dash into the one that's already exploded because there's like a delay, right? So champions that come to mind that you can do this on are probably stuff like Tryndamere. Anything with a substantial dash. You could probably do this by walking, honestly, if you're amazing. Probably not. I haven't tested this enough on other champions. This is just something I look for on my champ. And then he just dies. He doesn't die. He should die here. He shouldn't die here. Regardless, he was big wave. Alright, I hope that was helpful. These are some mini games that I play when I play against Gangplanks and I beat Challenger Gangplanks with. So make sure you use them too.